Ladies and gentlemen, out in California, where we know these are illegals that are working on many of these farms in the fields, they're all positive. They're all positive for COVID, all of them. If you don't have the people to harvest this food when it's ready, you're going to have a problem. So obviously, it's very difficult to do a job like this and social distance because you don't have those crops that far apart from each other. And they have to go up and down that field to pick whatever vegetables and fruits that are ripe. So they, either that or they're going to find a different way to plant those crops so those workers are not that close together. So this came out in The Guardian, August 8th, 2020. Everyone tested positive. COVID devastates agriculture workers in California's heartland. Across California's Central Valley, hundreds of thousands of workers wash the vegetables, debone the meat, sort the nuts, and package the produce that finds its way into kitchens throughout the United States. When the coronavirus hit, their work was ruled essential. So they kept working in the often cramped facilities that fuel a state industry that exports $21 billion in agricultural product each year. Workers told The Guardian in the past months, as much as California sheltered at home, they took their places in the production lines and sorting tables against all social distancing guidelines as their companies made excuses for why coworkers after coworkers showed up for their shifts. Some workers said they had to learn from the news report that they had been exposed to COVID-19. Wow. So their employers didn't even tell them they were exposed. So they were trying to hide this information from the workers. But somebody had sense enough to turn on the news and found out where they were working, they had COVID. Wow. Mm-mm-mm. Others said they felt obligated to work even when showing virus symptoms. Then they returned to their homes in cities across the region, unknowingly exposing their parents, their spouses, their children, aunts, uncles, cousins to the virus. We felt like we felt like they would tell us, they would take precautions, but they didn't. Yeah, because they don't care about you. When it comes down to Americans, it's all about the dollar. They don't care about no one's health. Look, if they gonna send school children back to school, you know damn well they don't care about the adults. It's all about make me rich, keep my money flowing, keep your ass out there and work. I need my money. Keep the money flowing. Get your ass out there and pick that shit. Now the virus is surging in the Central Valley with several reported deaths among essential workers. In 10 counties, state authorities list workplaces and businesses as likely drivers for increased transmission. In at least two more counties, outbreaks in several food processing facilities have led to hundreds of infections, which means these folks that are infected are touching the food. You can't tell me a lot of the food on the shelves don't have COVID in them too. I bet you if they tested it, you would find COVID in the food. It would have to be there. These folks are touching it. They're physically touching it. They're physically deboning chickens and stuff and sending that stuff out to supermarkets. Workers and worker rights organizations say these outbreaks and the subsequent swell of infections in the Central Valley point to a devastating truth that we are each only as protected as the least protected, as vulnerable as our most vulnerable. You can appear to contain the spread among middle class workers, but when it reaches those workers who are furthest from the margins, who are most devastated, the virus is going to spread, said Edward Flores, a sociologist professor at the University of California. All right. The Central Valley runs 450 miles down the center of California. Much of it is flat fields, lush fruit trees, and vibrant orchards. The region contains the largest concentration of dairies in the state, as well as the number of meat processing centers, together with the farms forming an agricultural juggernaut. In the San Joaquin Valley alone, the southern bulk of the region, more than 173,000 work in agriculture, with 45,000 more in food manufacturing, 60,600 more in grocery retail, and 86,000 in transportation and warehousing, according to UC Merced Community and Labor Center. In the 8 counties of San Joaquin Valley, a 27,000 square mile area of 4.3 million residents, coronavirus cases are at 1,900 per 100,000 residents. In comparison, the San Francisco Bay Area, with 7.7 million residents and 7,000 square miles, has 770 cases per 100,000 residents. From the beginning of the pandemic, advocacy groups expressed concerns for the safety of essential food workers. Much of this work does not allow for social distancing. And you can see that. Look at these people in that field, just in the picture. You got those crops so close together. How do you social distance and work the crops? You can't. You can't. Wow. Much of this work does not allow for social distancing, with workers squeezing next to each other in fields and crowding together at the plants. Many do the low wage labor that keeps these industries afloat are Latinx and do not speak English, making it difficult for them to communicate with their employers and understand their rights. Some are undocumented, with the fear of deportation preventing them from coming forward with any grievances. Still, over the past 5 years, the federal and state occupational safety and health divisions has received more complaints out of the Central Valley and inspected more accidents in this region than anywhere else in the state. Okay, according to Anna Padilla. The San Joaquin Valley has 13% of the state's meat processing centers, but have received 49% of the state inspections. Wow. This is crazy, y'all. Workers said management held a meeting when the pandemic first took off, warning them not to travel or put themselves at higher risk for infection, but gave out little other information before the outbreak. They offered no testing and told the workers they could bring masks from home if they wanted, but they weren't mandatory. They made little effort to create social distancing. It's a typical day, an 8-hour shift. I can be in contact with more than 100 or more people, walking in between people, going around the floor, chatting with people without masks, said Alvarez. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, wow, just think all of these workers are now positive. All of them. They said in Central Valley, literally all of them are infected. So now they go home to families, elderly people, kids. Those people are now infected. And it's no telling how many were in contact with their families. So this thing can really explode. And this is another reason why I keep telling y'all the fall is going to be far worse than the summer. It's a big spread going on in the summer, and it's not being contained. So that only adds up to a fall of a lot of coronavirus spreading around. Community spread, as they put it. It's going to be a lot of that. You know, you got to think about this stuff. Think about who's handling your food. And if that person is sick, you just don't know. You know, they don't know enough about coronavirus to even know how long it would last on food that is touched by somebody positive. I never heard them come out with studies on that. Now, they'll talk about surfaces, but what about food that's being handled by people that have tested positive? These agriculture workers touching your fruits and vegetables, and in many cases, your meat. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.